I know you've been around a little bit longer than I have, Art. And one sense that I've developed, especially since 2020, is kind of a BS meter for the mainstream media,
Yeah.
and being able to, I think, tell when they're just outright lying or maybe uh, using propaganda. And what I've seen is when they take something and they spin the truth to kind of push a narrative, I always like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I don't believe them. I think this is propaganda. And what I saw when the Nord Stream issue happened is a lot of the Western media, they came out and said, and a lot of the military leaders in the United States, I forgot what the one guy's name is, that said, that it's great for the United States because our imports of natural gas prices are going to skyrocket to Europe. And then there was another guy in the UK.
It was the Secretary of State who said that.
Yeah, and there was a guy in the UK, a military person, that said, well, this is obviously an attack on NATO, and therefore we need to respond accordingly, and we need to start increasing our military budget, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wait a minute, how was Russia blowing up their own pipeline an attack on NATO? Like, it's that's what I'm talking about, as though they just say something as though it's fact, but yet it's not really true. It might have a half truth because Russia owns what, 51% of it, but it's not completely true. And whenever I see those half truths, the spidey senses tingle, and I get the propaganda vibe. And I've been right more than I've been wrong, especially since 2020. But I'd like your opinion on that because you've seen the propaganda cycle far more than I have.
Well, I mean, yeah, part of it's propaganda, and part of it is just confirmation bias that people they want to be right. Okay, and if for whatever reason I think that Vladimir Putin is Satan incarnate, and
Right.
Russia is, are his minions, they're orcs or something like that, then any opportunity I get to reinforce my belief, I'll take it, right?
Yeah, great point.
And so as I look at the information and hear the explanations by people that I actually think know what they're talking about, first of all, it is it's almost as unlikely that the U.S. didn't know what was happening as it is that Russia did it.
Right, right.
I'm not saying we were an active participant, but I think we knew what was going on. All right, it's more unlikely that Sweden and Denmark didn't know what was going on. And if you look at what country, and this had to have been a country, I don't think it was some cell of terrorists or something like that. The country that has the most to gain is Poland. Poland hates Germany and Russia.
Mm.
And Poland, I mean, if the Nord Stream isn't running, then most of Europe's gas flows through Poland.
That's
So
interesting.
it is interesting. And that's not something I would have put together on my own. But again, this is what people who I trust, they don't know the answer, but they understand the context far better than I do. That's what they point out. They're not
Right.
saying Poland did it. They're just saying if you had to rank order, of the available candidates, the least likely is Russia, the most likely is Poland, and it's almost unavoidable that the U.S., Sweden, Denmark, and God knows who else were aware of it. And why haven't we heard any response from any NATO country condemning it or promoting it? I mean, Sweden said, oh, well, this was definitely sabotage.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that.
it was. It was sabotage, no question about it. But nobody that I've heard in government is blaming anybody. I haven't heard the U.S. say, oh, this was Russia or oh, this was Iran. No. We're, why wouldn't we be saying that? I don't know. But again, you just try to piece everything together. And I'm with you, George. I think the explanations that we're hearing in the mainstream, even the less mainstream media are suspect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the main takeaway there is for the audience. We're living through a time right now when having a healthy skepticism of what is being said in the media, all media, Russian media, Western media, Chinese media, it's a prudent play to not just take everything at face value. That's for sure.
Well, I
What?
mean, one more point on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean, skepticism has kind of a negative context to it. It sort of means, oh, well, you're negative. Well, I mean, the guy who originated the modern usage of that was David Hume, who was a
Mm.
philosopher historian, and
Buddy of Adam Scott or
yeah
Adam
his
Smith. Sorry.
his philosophy was no, as an objective person, you should question everything. Say, okay,
Mm,
well, that sounds reasonable. Now tell me why. I'll believe you when you explain why I should believe that. And to me, that's just smart.
yeah. I mean, it's the premise of the scientific process, isn't it?
It is. Doesn't mean we're going to be right, but let's look for support. And
Yeah,
it's hard to stay objective. It's hard for me. I
yeah,
don't, I can't, I have biases, I have preferences. But in any case, bottom line, I completely agree with you, George, that you should always question whatever anybody else tells you unless you trust them. And I don't trust anybody that I see on television because I don't know them.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
who pays them. I don't know why they're saying that.